Hi.
We have chosen to talk about getting new puppies because this is a really popular time of year to get new puppies. We are with Bannon Woods Veterinary Hospital. We are a mixed animal practice here in Fairdale, Kentucky. That's in the Louisville area. I recently have raised a puppy myself, so I have gone through the having a new puppy all over again. You definitely get a different experience when you live that. So I thought it would be a great time to try to answer anybody's questions. So we wanted to just kind of mention some other things that we offer for puppies here that's a little unique to our practice. We do chiropractic work. We do start that as young as 5 weeks. We like to do that. We do know that there have been studies shown that we can help even prevent hip dysplasia. So for the German Shepherds, the standard poodles, this is a wonderful, I guess, alternative. You know, anything that we can do to set them up and strengthen their muscles. We also do this in horses. But yeah, I actually adjust all of my foals when they're born. It does help their legs stand up straighter. So that is something kind of unique to our practice. We are very holistic. We use Eastern and Western medicine. So that's something that's different for us.
And I feel like our doctors are always going back to education classes and seminars just to make sure that whatever information and technology we bring you is the best quality we can find.
You got it. If there are improvements, we want to know about them. They have to be backed by science, of course, but we always learn, always learning. Absolutely.
I think it really feeds into even down to the heartworm and flea products we carry, and especially with puppies. Like, it has to be safe to be on our shelves.
It does. The products that we use topically, you could bathe your puppy in. So it's very important to get that information from your veterinarian.
Let's go ahead and reiterate what we're doing today and
who
we are.
So Dr. Adrienne Robertson, Candace here. We're with Bannon Woods Veterinary Hospital. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we're going to go through basic puppy care, and we welcome your questions. If it's been a while since you've had a new puppy, we'd love to help you. We're here to help. Just a couple things that we kind of talked about, but we prefer to answer your questions. That's what this is all about. We're here for you.
To get started, why do we vaccinate puppies?
The mother's maternal antibodies from the colostrum, they're going to wear off at about 5 weeks. So that 6-week mark, it's important to go ahead and booster your puppy's immune system. These are the most important vaccinations they will receive throughout their entire life. This is the best thing you can do for your puppy to set it up for a lifetime of health. What we're vaccinating puppies for, they're exposed to in their environment. So it's really unique for puppies, and they're deadly diseases. So the diseases that we're going to vaccinate for are distemper, parvo, parainfluenza, of course, rabies. Not only is rabies deadly, but it's also zoonotic, which means that you can get rabies and you can die from it. So bordetella, that's kennel cough. So it depends on your dog's social life, what they do for a living, where they travel to, what their exposure rate is. My dogs live on a farm, so we also vaccinate for lepto, Lyme disease. We have the Woods here. We saw quite a bit of Lyme disease last year. We actually have 2 cases in our hospital right now. So it just depends on their risk base. And one of the big vaccinations that we've added to our puppy protocol recently is canine influenza. We had a huge outbreak here in Louisville, Kentucky. So we do consider that a risk-based vaccine for our puppies here. And it's because animals were dying. That's not necessarily considered a core vaccine, but it depends on where you live. So for Louisville, Kentucky, absolutely. So we're going to start vaccinating our puppies at about 6 to 8 weeks. When you get a new puppy, we'd like to see them within the first week of when you get them. We want to check them out, make sure they're healthy. We're going to check for things like umbilical hernias. Some of them need to be repaired very soon. They could get their intestines trapped. We're going to check for their open fontanelle. Do they have any issues swallowing, eating? Because when we see them, they're definitely continuing to transition their diet.
You get a puppy and for some reason it's separated from mom a little bit early, 4 weeks or so. Do we even vaccinate then, or do we wait? Is it still recommended to bring them in?
Sure. We definitely want to examine them. We will not vaccinate those puppies until they're between 6 and 8 weeks because it's not necessary. Their immune system cannot respond, but they are very much susceptible. So we want to check them out. That's a great time to deworm these puppies. They're the ones that are going to have a higher risk. They don't have any protection.
And so is it true that all puppies are born with worms?
They are. Yeah, they are. So that's why we deworm all puppies. And the scary thing about roundworms is you can get them. You do really need to wash your hands when you're playing with the puppies. Watch the kids. Everybody that comes in with a new puppy with the little kids, I say, please, I talk to the kids. I say, oh, please wash your hands because that puppy's going to give you worms. And yeah,
because they all have them.
They all have them. Yeah, they all have them.
When do you recommend checking a fecal sample for these puppies?
That's a great question. So we're going to see them between 6 and 8 weeks. And typically I like to see a fecal at their next visit. So we will deworm them because we know all puppies have roundworms unless they have diarrhea. So if they come to me at their first visit with soft stool or diarrhea, of course we're going to check a fecal. If it looks fairly formed, then we're going to wait till their next visit because we need to see if they need any additional dewormers. What we're giving all of our puppies, it's salt-based. It's extraordinarily safe. We're not going to use a harsh chemical on them unless we have to.
How do you know when you should take your puppy to the vet? When,
Sure.
Are you jumping the gun too soon or what's serious,
No, that's a great question. So vomiting or diarrhea, those are the two big things. Puppies get dehydrated so quickly. So if you have vomiting or diarrhea in your puppy, please bring them in immediately. If they're sluggish, puppies always sleep a lot, just like human babies. But if they're sluggish, bring them right on in. You can definitely check their temperature too. I'm just like above 103. I need to know about it. But I really watch for their attitude. Puppies are just so full of energy when they're awake. So any changes in behavior, vomiting and diarrhea.
What do we look for in parvo? What would that look like with puppies?
Oh my, we hate parvo. It's really preventable if you vaccinate. Puppies with parvo come in and they look like death. They are flat out and it's fast. They will be normal in the morning and then we'll get the call in the afternoon. Something's wrong with my puppy. And these puppies are just flat out. Sometimes it's caught by the owner typically before it goes to the vomiting and diarrhea. Usually by the time it's, pure liquid blood diarrhea, that is later stages. We can absolutely still help them. But the first moment you notice they're sluggish, please bring them in. Because the earlier we catch it, the easier it is to treat. And we have a great success rate treating parvo here.
When they start to receive vaccines, at what point in the series are they, immune or protected against parvo?
That's a great question. It takes 3 vaccinations to be protected. So you get a little bit of immunity with each vaccine, but it just builds upon itself. So puppies are not protected until they have 3 of them. So we tell you don't travel, don't board your puppy, no grooming, none of that type of social lifestyle until they're fully protected.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, which kind of comes back to when you're socializing or whatnot, just being careful, I think, about going to pet stores and, going around family dogs who you don't know if they had vaccination history, because like you said, parvo is so serious.
It is so serious. Absolutely. Great question.
So, and a client actually asked this earlier, but what about spaying and neutering? When do we do that for our little puppies?
That's a great question. So it definitely depends on the breed. It's typically about 6 months. Some breeds can go a little earlier. Some of my larger breed dogs, like our Great Danes, I'll wait 1.5 years on them. It just depends on the dog and how quickly they mature. Dog to dog, normal is 6 months. That's kind of the generic rule, but we discuss that at the puppy exam because we want to do what's best for your dog. We want to make sure that they are mature so they don't have any issues down the road. That's a great question.
And what about diet and feeding?
Oh, I love this question. Everybody wants to know about the magic diet. So there are so many different diets out there. It is hard to tell. We will be posting a website. Can we do that, Candace?
Yeah.
We can post a website. Mm-hmm. We'll do that in our comments. There's a great website that you can go to that talks about the breed of your dog and then their nutritional needs. So that's very helpful. A lot of people say, well, Dr. Robertson, I want to go to Walmart. What can I buy that's local and easily accessible? I do like Purina Pro Plan. I don't work for them, but we've used it for years. And that is something that is pretty easy to get your hands on. They do have a good puppy diet. My personal puppy likes From, and I love Donna Richardson at Richardson's Feed Store in Shepherdsville. We'll put the information up for her also. She has an amazing variety of really high quality diets. And of course, that has my highest recommendation. Donna's great with different breeds, but we're so lucky. We have basically a local nutritionist. She's just in Shepherdsville.
I think it's another important question to ask when you bring your puppy in for visits, and these questions that become really specific to their breed and their body conformation. And these are all questions that you can work with your vet during their appointment. What about heartworm prevention? When do we start that in puppies?
Yeah, 12 weeks is when we start our heartworm prevention. The deal with heartworms is it has to do with the life cycle of the heartworm, why we start treating then. So the monthly heartworm prevention that you give just kills the baby stages of the heartworms. So we know that it's not going to kill the adults, but we want to kill that L3 larva stage so that it doesn't ever mature to a baby, because our dogs are exposed all the time. Even if they only go outside to use the restroom, they're exposed. I've had a mosquito in my house before. Not all mosquitoes carry heartworms, but that's where they get them from. That is the life cycle. And heartworm disease is deadly. The worms literally eat the dog's heart. And it's so economical right now. I don't know why we would not prevent heartworm disease. I like at 6 months, my dogs are on ProHeart. I really like that. It's once every 6 months. So we've loved that. I even forget my monthly preventative, and I work here. It's hard to remember sometimes.
And so what about microchipping in puppies?
Oh, microchipping is fantastic. We like to do that at their spay neuter. The needle that we use is about the size of a vaccination, so it's really not painful. It's just like getting a vaccine. But I mean, if they don't have to feel it, we prefer to do it at their spay neuter. We can definitely do it earlier. Microchipping is amazing. The microchips that we use, you can actually go online and Google that number, and it will send you a text message. And I like that. The technology is not available yet. The whole GPS, it causes too much thermal damage. That technology is just not available. Yeah. But what a great way to get your babies back. My horses are microchipped. I'm just throwing that out there. Actually, every pet I have, my dogs, my cats, my horses, everybody's microchipped. It's part of their identity.
And I think a really important thing about microchips, yes, it helps you get your babies back sooner, but in an emergency, it's the only way. You know, if someone brings us a dog that's been hit by a car,
sure,
if they have a microchip, we can call you immediately.
We know exactly who they belong to. Yes, absolutely. So you can make those decisions of their care.
And then what about supplements, minerals? Yeah.
Sure. So the large breed dogs, they should get glucosamine supplements. Most of the large breed puppy feeds will already have that in there. So I, in general, don't do a lot of over supplementing because the foods are balanced. The people that put those foods together have PhD. They are nutritionists. That is what they do for a living, and they are balanced. I've had nutrition classes myself. And it is very detailed. So in order for you to get a dog food approved here in the United States, it goes through rigorous testing, because I know a lot of people are worried that they're not balanced. Our diets are not balanced. I think that human beings, since we we should take vitamins for sure. But, especially those high end, those high quality feeds, like I mentioned earlier, they are balanced, and they do have the extra vitamins and minerals for those large breed dogs. Yeah. It's already in there.
And when you go to, for anybody who's interested in raw feeding or whatnot, that resource that we posted earlier in the comments for Dog Food Advisor, they'll give you recipes and information so you can make sure that you're doing your part to have a nutritional balance.
You don't want to just randomly pick, well, my dog just lives on chicken and rice. You really need to make sure that the minerals are balanced. I mean, they're carnivores. We find out that they're just like cats. They have to have taurine also. That was kind of a big fad with the grain-free diet. They were worried that they weren't as balanced for certain breeds as they should be. So that resource really does a good job of helping you, because a lot of people like to make their own diets, and I am absolutely on board with that. I just ask that you make sure that you've got to make sure it's balanced.
And we went over vaccines and parvo a little earlier, but so just a reiteration, when's the earliest we start vaccinating for parvo?
Sure. So 6 weeks is the earliest we start. Some puppies we'll see right at that 5 to 6 week. They're real close. They're almost 6 weeks, and we will go ahead. So anytime after 5 weeks is what we recommend. That's why we pick 6.
We'll go ahead and start training off with the question everybody wants to know is housebreaking.
Oh, I love to talk about housebreaking. I've just gone through this myself. The baseline rule that I want everybody to really be aware of is for every 1 month old your puppy is, they can hold their bladder for 1 hour. So if you have a 3-month-old puppy, they can really only hold it, for 3 hours. So they're really trying, but just keeping that rule in the back of your mind, I think it really helps. There are other things that we can do. So now we know, okay, I have a 6-month-old puppy. I know you can reasonably hold it for 6 hours. If you have a puppy that can hold it longer, you're a winner. My human children did not sleep through the night. So I know that it's kind of the same thing with puppies. Sometimes you're just lucky and they can hold their bladder longer. Sometimes they just can't. But that's your basic rule, just like a human. I always think of people because we all went through it. But a baby, that they don't, just like a puppy, sometimes they urinate and they don't even know they've done it. Sometimes they do it and they recognize, oh, hey, something's happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some little dogs don't care, just like I had 2 little human boys. Sometimes they just don't care. But the point is just knowing that it's 1 month equals 1 hour of bladder hold. So we'll start there. Things that we can do is making sure that you really watch your meal times, when they drink and when they have meal times. Puppies usually eat 3 times a day, when they're younger. Mm-hmm. So 15 minutes after they go to the bathroom, they don't have a very long intestine tract. It's in and out. So take them out immediately. Praise them.
What about crate size?
You want it to be a little uncomfortable for them because if the crate's too big, they'll just use half of it as a bathroom and half of it is where they eat and sleep. So you just want it to be just big enough to where your puppy can stand up and turn around comfortably. A lot of people want to get their puppies these big, giant luxury crates, and you don't want to do that when you're helping them housebreak. It's meant to be where they sleep. It's not meant to be where they live. Because that's really counterproductive to get too big of a crate. That's a great question.
So what about ways we can get our puppies used to being handled and examined? What should owners do at home to help socialize their puppy?
It's never too early to help socialize your puppy. Touch their feet every day, all the time. It helps them get used to getting their nails trimmed, rub their ears. Of course, once they're fully vaccinated, you want to get them out there as much as you possibly can. The more they're exposed to different dogs and different, I take my dog to Lowe's. There is, I know there's a website that tells us that there are so many stores where you're allowed to take your dogs. I think that's great. My dog travels with me when at all possible, but just get them out as much as you possibly can. It's exposure. It's just with anything else. You've got to get those puppies to kindergarten,
Absolutely. Just because we're not vaccinated for parvo, there's creative ways we can, especially in the winter, but continue to keep up that vital socialization that they so need. So if you get a puppy who's about a year old and you don't have any knowledge of their vaccination history, is it safe? What do we do?
So we definitely are going to start from scratch, and we do want to booster them, because if we don't know what their immune system is like, they won't be as strong as if you vaccinate them when they're before 16 weeks old, but they're still going to have boosters. So it's the same thing with, an adult dog. If we don't know their history, we are going to booster it. And I'm going to booster it 3 times, just like a puppy, because we have got to let the immune system see that. They're going to see the antigens. They're going to recognize it. It's really the same process. It's just in an older dog.
Absolutely. And vaccines, of course, are very safe. If
they are extremely safe. Yeah, they are. They really are. And then the types of vaccines that we'll carry, it has to do with the type of adjuvants that are inside of them. Our vaccines are, it's a lipid. It's made from the body. The body doesn't recognize it as foreign. I guess that's the only way I can describe it. It's very smooth. Very, very low.
If they got vaccinated right before you found them and you vaccinate them again, they will be okay.
You got it.
As long as they're safe.
You can actually vaccinate a dog for rabies every day if they're not allergic to it, which it's
seldom.
Very rare. But if no, they are extremely safe.
What about, and of course this is something we all deal with too, but biting and nipping with our puppies?
Sure. So the puppies that bite and nip, it's important to not smack them on the nose, because then you've started a party. Oh, good, we're playing now. Now you're their playmate. We'll try to take a toy and, replace the biting and nipping. Here's the toy. This is what you can chew on, not me. Ignoring some puppies does work, but I find that the puppies that are just incessant, just trade. I think trading works best with them, because you are not their playmate. You're their parent. So
Exactly.
You're the puppy parent. Yes.
And and it's really important too for puppies that may have been separated from their litters and whatnot earlier.
Sure.
That as that puppy parent, you have the responsibility to know that your dog didn't get as much sibling socialization, so you're going to have to make up for that at home in their own time.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then for anybody who might be joining in late or, joining from other states or whatnot, who are we, who are you, and what are we doing today?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Adrienne Robertson. This is Candace. We're here with Bannon Woods Veterinary Hospital, and we are doing a series of live Facebook feeds, just trying to answer questions. We're getting out in the community to see, what can we do to be helpful. So if you have any ideas about topics that you'd like us to discuss, we would love to do that. Of course, these feeds will be up. We have a YouTube channel, but we are a mixed animal practice. We work on all species, including exotics, horses, dogs, cats, sheep, goats, you name it. We pretty much work on everything. We are a 4-doctor practice. We love being mixed animal. We do a lot of sports medicine in the equine world here in the Louisville, Kentucky area. So we do quite a bit of sports medicine with our dogs and cats. Everyone like an athlete. So we have a lot of really cool modalities.
Absolutely. If you have any future topics, questions, ideas, feel free always to share them with us. I know we'll try to alternate between the species.
We really enjoy these sessions. So we really appreciate your time. And again, if you think of anything, please go ahead and list in the comments, and we will definitely get back with you. We really appreciate you taking your time to listen to us. And we hope this helped someone out there. If it did, then we've accomplished our goal. Yeah. So we're here to help.
And if you ever have follow-up questions or need any clarification of anything we talked about, whether you're watching this now or later, you can message us, and we're happy to always answer your questions.
We love our job. We love what we do. Yeah.
All right. Well, bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, guys.